Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel, friends. It's time for a little Star Trek The Original Series, specifically Season 2, Episode 22, By Any Other Name. Will it smell as sweet? We'll find out by the end of the episode, my friends, but before we get started, if you could do me a huge favor and hit that like button, smash that subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. It greatly helps out a small channel, and it allows me to alert you next time we go live with Star Trek or any of our sci-fi fare. And of course, if there's anything that we do that you would like early or in its full-length format, the link to our Patreon is in the description, my friends. But all that is then and this is now, and now it's time to journey once again aboard the NCC 1701 as we boldly go into Season 2, Episode 22, By Any Other Name. Prepare to engage maximum warp reaction, and away we go! Oh, what's that off the port bow? It's a beauty. Ooh, look at this place.
Well, somebody sent a distress call.
No sign of the spaceship, no sign of debris.
Huh.
Captain, I'm getting a reading now. 2 human forms at bearing 300 Mark 7.
Nice. Hey, what's up, everybody? How you doing?
Now, you will surrender your ship to me.
Sure, yeah, we'll do that.
You have a very strange sense of humor, Mr.
Okay.
I am Rojan of Kelva.
Rojan.
I am your commander from this moment on.
Nah, you're not Rojan.
Any efforts to resist us or to escape will be severely punished.
McCoy was in mid-complaining. He was in mid-plane.
You humans must face the end of your existence as you have known it.
Rojan, I hope you're not, like, waiting for... Jim's going to tell us about the final frontier. I don't know if Rojan is waiting for us to, or waiting for Jim to respond, because you froze him, buddy, with your special belt. We talked about this before. Protocol for beaming down to a planet. Somebody had a great comment that said, I always said you should go down with an open comm, so if there's immediate problems, Scotty or whoever can beam you right back up. Somebody else had a much better idea, which I completely agree with, since, you know, Swiss cheese brain and not very good ideas. Someone said, why don't you send down a security squad to kind of take care of the area before you come down? That's why I have friends watching this with me. You set me straight. That's what should be done. There should be a security beachhead before you go down to an alien world. Teleplay by everyone. Mark Daniels, baby. Marky Mark is back.
I will now release you.
Hey,
Captain!
it's all right.
I will now punch you.
A neural field.
Yes, radiating from a central projector.
What do you want?
Your ship, Captain Kirk.
You can't have it.
Voyage? Where?
To your neighboring galaxy, which you call Andromeda. High radiation levels in our galaxy will make life there impossible. So the Kelvin Empire sent forth ships to explore other galaxies.
Kelvin?
You think you are unconquerable, and your ship impregnable.
We've never said that.
Something penetrating from the planet. Increase power to shield.
Got you with my belt. Oh, hey.
Engineering, come in.
Life support. Come in.
Well, hi, guys.
Rhea, Tomar, report.
Life support control secure.
Oh, boy.
The ship is ours. We control the bridge, engineering, and life support systems.
Proceed with your orders.
Listen, at some point you're going to slip, and...
We will modify its engines in order to produce velocities far beyond the reach of your science.
You made a voyage of 300 years?
Our ships were of multi-generation design.
Oh.
We shall die there during our return journey.
And our mission will be completed by a commander who is my descendant.
What?
There is an energy barrier at the rim of your galaxy.
Yes, I know. We've been there.
We managed to break through it with great difficulty. Our ship was destroyed.
Well, then how the hell are you going to go the other way, bro?
Rojan, there's no reason to do this by force. Expeditions have cataloged hundreds of uninhabited planets in this galaxy suitable for colonization.
We do not colonize. We conquer.
Yep.
We rule.
How do you even know what you do?
We can control a federation as easily as we can control you.
Prove it.
The fate of the inferior in any galaxy.
Oh, boy.
We'll keep you and your party here, Captain. Your crew will undoubtedly wish to cooperate with us if they understand that you are hostages.
It's going to be time for Jim to deploy his seduction tactics. I can feel that coming. I know that actress, too.
Shomar has examined the ship. The modifications are underway.
It's time for me to go host the Twilight Zone.
These shells in which we've encased ourselves, they have such heightened senses.
Okay, so that's not their appearance, then.
Similar to Dibernium, but considerably more dense. I doubt even phaser fire could disturb its molecular structure.
What about the rock around it?
They registered as perfect human life forms.
Interesting.
However perfect they are, there don't seem to be very many of them. Why don't we...
They have the paralysis field.
Yep.
Rojan mentioned something about a central projector.
Yeah, he let that little nugget slip.
I would have to have one to examine. Oh, you'll have one, sir. If I have to rip one of the Kelvins apart to get it.
Shay, you'll get your chance, but you'll do it under orders.
I like this guy. Oh, you're going to get one. You're going to get one.
By a Vulcan mind probe.
As I recall, Captain, I led him to believe we had escaped.
Be careful, Spock. I always forget that he doesn't need, at least, I always thought that he had to have physical contact. Ooh. Don't let... Oh. Karate chop. It's not going to work on them.
You all right?
Yes, I will be all right, Captain. No much hurry.
I just got my bell rung.
This cannot go unpunished.
Okay, well, kill me then.
Hanar.
Dance for him. No! Stop dancing.
Kalinda?
Oh, they're gonna kill my guy.
Female.
Ugh.
Go.
Please don't kill them. I really like both of them. They are wearing red.
You realize the importance of discipline. I need you and these other specialists, but those two are unnecessary.
Oh, no, no, no. Come on.
We feel pain when others suffer for our mistakes. Your punishment shall be to watch them die.
Well, come on.
Proceed, Hanar.
No, 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 no. Come on. Guys, do something. They just both rolled a nat 1. Can we bring them back?
This is the essence of what they were.
Okay.
And what you call the personality. Distilled down into these compact shapes.
Okay. Okay.
That one can be restored. Hanar?
Oh my God, they killed the yeoman. Jesus, Jim. Oh my God. Ooh. We've had some fun episodes. This is not. This is... Oh, shit.
I was thrown away by something I've never experienced before.
What was it?
What did it feel like?
Immense beings. 100 limbs which resemble tentacles. Minds of such control and capacity that each limb is capable of performing a different function.
It's like Cthulhu.
Well, if they look that way normally, why did they adapt themselves to our bodies?
Perhaps practicality. Immense beings with 100 tentacles would have difficulty with a turbolift. We've got to stop them.
There has to be a weakness in that, though.
If you reverse the circuits on McCoy's neuroanalyzer, can you set up a counter field To jam the paralysis projector?
I'm dubious of the possibilities of success, Captain.
I'm dubious.
Vulcans have the ability to place themselves in a kind of trance.
We find it more restful to the body than your so-called vacation.
Can you do it now and come out of it in the sick bay, say, in a half an hour?
It will take me a moment to prepare.
I'm ready. Yep, let's grab him. You can't knock these people out by conventional means either. The chop did nothing. I'm still asleep.
And there's no danger if he gets medication in time. He'll be all right in a couple of hours.
Very well. I will inform Rojan. You will stay here.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I'll stay here. We won't certainly be planning anything.
I cannot believe that you do not understand the importance of my mission. We Kelvins have a code of honor.
You seem to.
I respect your devotion to your duty, but I cannot permit it to interfere with mine.
Okay. We're in an impasse.
Our memory tapes tell us of such things on Kelvin. Crystals that form with such rapidity, they seem to grow.
They've never been to Kelvin.
We call them sashir.
A rose by any other name.
There we go. Now look at that beauty.
We've jumped to warp 8.
And we'll go faster yet. Increase speed to warp 11.
Excuse me, now what?
Roger. I'm going to sick bay. My first officer is taken ill.
Yes, I was informed. You may go.
Why do you need us alive? To run the ship? They left it unguarded. That shows an arrogance.
Readings indicate it is impervious to any of our weapons. We cannot penetrate the casing to get to the machine.
What about gas or something?
I see what you're getting at. I can't say I like it.
Nor I. But it must be made available to the captain.
To blow up the ship, or is that what we're looking at?
Impossible, Captain. The power source is protected by a material we cannot breach, even with our phasers.
Anything else?
When we engage the barrier, the
Boom.
ship will explode. The Kelvins will be stopped here.
And we're here. Don't they do that in one of the movies? Like they go through the barrier? Like Final Frontier? Like 5? I think. Because 6 is undiscovered country, right?
Captain's log, stardate.
Boy, that looks really cool right there.
Spock and Scotty have devised a suicide plan to stop the Kelvin. They have rigged the ship to explode. Reading, Spock.
Sensors indicate density negative, radiation negative, energy negative.
Hint, hint, and hint, Jim.
Hold your position.
How are you going to beat these guys? I mean, we're leaving our galaxy.
We made it.
Sweet Jesus.
Life support systems sustaining on emergency.
I'll have a full report
wow.
on ship status for you in a moment, sir.
Your people are most efficient, Captain.
All the talk coming in.
Einar, start the neutralizing operation.
What the hell does that mean?
The food synthesizers cannot manufacture enough food for the entire journey. We are therefore neutralizing all non-essential personnel.
No.
Oh my God, I guess we should have blown ourselves up.
We have no need for communication.
Oh, for God's sakes, no. Jim.
And since Drea is capable of handling the ship from here on,
Son of a bitch. We're in a real pickle. We are in a real pickle. Unless we need a lot of D12s, then we're in good shape. Come on, Jim, what do you got here? Jim, Spock, anybody. We gotta have some suggestions here, guys. Oh my God. Wow, I was not expecting this. I was not expecting...
do you not agree that this is a better thing for them than exploding the ship as your engineer had thought to do? We detected it, of course. Tomar has devised a mechanism to prevent any further tampering. Please accept your situation, Captain. It will make things much less painful for you.
Wow, they're a step at like 8 steps ahead here.
Jim, I saw them reduce 4 of my doctors and nurses into those little... They've reduced the whole...
Yeah, listen, Jim's on the edge. This is not...
Before you condemn it, why don't you try it? I believe I will. Assist me.
Your idea, Doctor. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you want to cut your food? Watch them stumble into something that they can't do. Like they eat food and they like explode or some shit. Look, here's some Play-Doh.
But I may be able to do something. Even if we could, it's out of the question. We need that projector to bring our people back to human form. Then how will we stop the Kelvins?
Can't.
If I could. I'm delighted.
It's poison. What did you see, Spock?
The isolated glimpses of things I saw when I touched Kalinda's mind are beginning to coalesce in my consciousness.
Other conquered species?
Tomar shouldn't be enjoying the taste of his food.
Yes, quite correct, Captain.
They took on human form, though.
But they have taken human form and are therefore having human reaction.
And they're not prepared for that type of feeling.
If they all respond to stimulation of the senses, then maybe we can distract them.
I have my ultra seduction I can use. We know that's coming.
Look for any way to stimulate the senses.
I can think of one way right off.
I want to punch him in the face.
You're going to need something to wash that down with. Have you ever tried any Saurian brandy?
I'm going to get you absolutely shit-faced.
Well, that bite of yours is a bit anemic. Comes from taking food and pills instead of solid sustenance. High-potency vitamin concentrate. You'll need 3 a day for a few days.
See, can my man get drunk? I think the answer to that is yes. Oh my God, please don't let that be Plum's secret stash.
Yes, well, I don't usually go around beating up beautiful women.
Why not?
Why not?
Well, there are better things for men and women to do.
Like what?
Here we go. Bill Shatner, everybody. This had to be in his contract.
Is there some significance to this action?
6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Oh, you are trying to seduce me.
Yes.
I have been studying you.
Oh, I would like you to seduce me.
Why do you build such a mystique around a simple biological function?
Let me show you.
Do you really regard this touching of the lips as pleasurable?
I did.
Curious. Let me try.
Yeah, Jim's got this.
He came to apologize for hitting me. Apparently, it involves some peculiar touching contact.
In what manner?
And the contamination begins. Listen, the Scotsman is the only person that we can put in this position. Come on, Scotty.
You have more?
You got it, Scotty.
Not this.
Well, anything.
Anything.
That such apologies are usually exchanged between people who have some affection for each other.
Kalinda has no affection for Captain Kirk.
Your game is off.
I hope you have no affection for any of these pieces that I am taking.
I have no reason for such a reaction. Kalinda's a female, nothing more.
Okay.
You are not jealous,
No,
nor upset.
certainly not.
And you've lost that piece as well. Jimmy, go, buddy.
What is it? Well, it's
booze.
it's green.
Kalinda, I've been thinking.
Uh-oh.
You have told me over and over again, humans are no threat to us. We are superior. I will do as I please.
Uh-oh.
You will do as I say, or I will neutralize your Captain Kirk and all the other humans as well.
Ruh-roh. This is crazy because, I mean, a lot of different approaches here, but I'm not sure.
I think you better stay on him for a few days, and then we'll see how you're responding.
I see no reason for you to refer to yourself in the plural.
Okay, well, See you later, tan pants.
Whiskey.
Well, I will try it.
I'll get it.
Oh, get it. Oh my God, look where he has it hidden.
All I was saving you for.
What?
Never mind. Give us your glass.
Jimmy Doohan doing a great job with this.
Haven't seen Scotty in hours. We haven't seen Tomar either.
Scotty hasn't seen straight in hours either.
I would like to speak with you, Captain.
Okay.
I'm due for another injection of stocoline. Stocoline.
Plum, this is all part of the act.
You will pardon us.
I can find nothing to argue about.
This cultural mystique surrounding the biological function.
Yes.
You realize humans are overly preoccupied with the subject.
Yes.
I've done some supplemental reading on it.
Supplemental.
I was wondering, would you please apologize to me again?
I'm sorry. Yes, of course. Very sorry.
Further, I do not care much for the way you run this ship.
Hey, now, confine yourself to your quarters.
Or I shall attack you with my belt.
Rojan has forbidden me to see you.
Yes, that's too bad.
Yes, it's awful.
Why do you defy him?
Because he's an asshole.
We were told to find out everything we could about you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's your...
I need some more experiments.
No wonder Bill Shatner is almost 100.
He was alone then? No, Kalinda was with him. She seemed anxious to speak to him. It would appear, sir, that you have little control over her. Or perhaps Captain Kirk has more.
Jesus, Spock. That might have been the step too far right there.
But I feel rather strange.
This guy's doing a That was amazing.
You and me.
We did it!
Put him right under the table.
You did it, Scotty. You outdrank a Kelvin, he's going down too. Come on, Scotsman. Make it to your bed at least. Come on, Scott.
I'll take this to the captain.
Come on, Scotty. Is he gonna make it? He's not gonna make it, is he? Oh, Scotty, you're so close. My absolute favorite Scotty moment so far. Him drinking a Kelvin under the table.
I am your commander.
That's not enough, Rojan.
Uh-oh.
If you can't keep her, that's not my problem.
You will release her.
Ah. Oh. Oh. Oh my God, here we go.
Use your paralyzer.
Because he wants the visceral feeling of the attack. Woo! Nice movement. You know what I love so much about this show? When they fight, they go full screen, no cuts. You're going, it's a dance. Choreography is on point.
You're reacting with the emotions of a human. You are a human.
No, I should not be.
I'm stimulating him.
I'm stimulating. Get me back in there.
Look what's happened to you the short time you've been exposed to us. What do you think will happen in 3 centuries? When this ship gets to Kelva, the people on it will be human.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Your mission is to find new worlds for your people to live in. You can still do that. We can bring this problem to the Federation.
You would really do that? You would extend welcome to invaders?
You wouldn't be invaders then.
What we would welcome friends.
This is an opportunity for you to establish a destiny of your own.
Oh, great line.
Perhaps. Perhaps it could be done.
Let's turn the fuck around then.
If we retain this form, where could we find a place?
Seems to me that little planet you were on is kind of nice.
They don't like that, though, the open spaces.
He's most interesting, but I wish to go with you. I believe I owe you an apology.
Jim, you somehow did it.
Being human does have certain advantages. Being able to appreciate the beauty of a flower or a woman.
By any other name.
We're going home.
Good leave line. Wow. I have a lot of thoughts about this one. I really, really do. All right, everybody, we just got done watching Star Trek, the original series, Season 2, Episode 22, By Any Other Name. And the only thing left to do is to talk about it. All right, everybody. Strangely enough, I want to save a lot of these things for the good general later, because I've got a lot of like kind of behind the scenes questions I don't want to get too off into the weeds on. This episode, I actually talked about it with a Patreon before we started into this, but I'll say this. In all of my travels in Star Trek, the original series, all the Q&As, all of the, just, reading through these books, reading through these are the voyages and the making of Star Trek. And all this, I have never, not once that I can remember, run into the episode title by any other name. Never once. Not once have I run into it. I've run into several of the other ones. Like normally, whenever I get to an episode, the name will seem somewhat familiar. If I run into a fact or something where it says like, hey, so-and-so guest stars in this episode, and I'm like, oh, cool, that's the episode I'm queuing in. I'm actively researching. And it'll say, and they also appear in, I'll usually read the title and be like, whoa, and blah, 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 I don't want to remember it. And it's worked. I haven't, had anything spoiled for myself so far, knock on wood. But with this one, I didn't have any foreshadowing at all for this episode. And I think that is why I enjoyed it so much. This was a tough episode. This episode, we've had a lot of fun episodes in season 2. We had trouble with tribbles. We've had a piece of the action, kind of a lot of feel good, fun episodes. If there are stakes, they don't seem to be too high. We haven't really had, let me see, let's think about it, everybody. When was the last time we had a crew death? Probably like last episode, and I just can't remember. But let me just say this. I think we had a lot of crew deaths, like red shirt deaths at the top of season 2. But for the back half of season 2, I think they've decreased dramatically to the point where it's kind of difficult to remember certain ones that we've had. With that being said, starting off with that very, immediately we're outclassed. Immediately the crew is outclassed. The typical trick, Spock, do something, mind meldy, let's do like, let's attack. Let's take, Jim tries to deploy some type of, hey, misdirection or anything like that. They try all that and spin their wheels and it ends up getting the yeoman killed. Yeoman Thompson. I thought she did a very good job. The actress that played Yeoman Thompson did a very good job of portraying, I don't think any Starfleet officer should be portrayed as naive or innocent or anything like that, but she was definitely like a rookie, more, you kind of got like, what's happening, Captain, just that looking for guidance from a superior officer. And, we had the opposite reaction from our security officer. I can do this. You need this. I'll get this done. There was not necessarily an aggression, but a confidence in the moment. And the opposite was displayed in the yeoman, like, what's going on? Where are we? There's a lack of confidence, a lack of certainty. They took that parallel to such extent that they had them both reduced down to the D12s or whatever they are, down to like the polyhedral shapes. And then you're not sure which one Rojan is holding, whenever he crushes one. And then when you bring it back and it's the security guard, you automatically feel, and it's not necessarily because, security guards were used to having red shirts die. It wasn't that. It was, it was that loss of kind of like that inexperience, that innocence, But I said I wasn't going to say that, but that's kind of what it is, really getting occupational innocence, and goodness gracious, that was heart-wrenching to see that. And I think it was a very fearless decision to be like, you know what, we're going to kill the yeoman. That was a decision, because I think right there that we are presented with these stakes. Someone's going to die for this little, act of defiance that you had, Kirk. I'm going to crush one of them right in front of you. I just, turned him into powder. And then you're like, oh my God, it was the yeoman. It's just like, it hits twice, it's a sucker punch and then it's a roundhouse. And you're like, wow, okay, we're in it. There is some bad shit going on here. And there's no joking in this one. There's no room for error in this one. This is an incredibly advanced enemy who we can't second guess or try what we normally try on them without this type of consequence. Great way to establish an episode, a great way to initially set the stakes and then set them higher and then set them higher. I think about, when Jim walked into the hallway and there were just all of those, D12s laying there. And, normally that'd be kind of goofy. It's like, oh, they turned him down into like D12 polyhedral dice type things. I thought it was almost like a graveyard. You saw like tricorders and stuff that were dropped by the people that had been turned into these things. And then a hallway filled with these. That was a really good image. And it was a really it was an eye-opening, this is what's going on across the ship. And then when they said, is there anyone else? No, it's just us four. It's just us four. That was where they took the stakes all the way down, drilled it through the entire crew, all the way down to those four. And we had our core four in Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and Scotty. And each of them were kind of saddled with save the Enterprise, save the crew, stop the Kelvins, which is a Herculean task, but not for these guys. But we got to see some of our, basically, we always talk about it, that every officer in Starfleet is very, 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 very good at what they do. The Starfleet officers on the Enterprise are the best. And we got to see that. And that's always the thing that I love the most, is when you get to see somebody like Plum, who is so good at what they do, doing that very thing and showing us, this is why I'm so good at this. Not bragging or being arrogant. It's just on display. They can't help but be awesome at this, because they are awesome at this. They're the best in the galaxy, the best that Starfleet has to offer. Go on the Enterprise, and then we get to see them. The different approaches were really good, like McCoy taking the biological approach, or the pharmaceutical approach, if you will, by just kind of chemically rearranging his Kelvin to be, stimulated and aggressive and things like that. Kirk, of course, is going to deploy his seduction. That is one of his number one bag. In his bag of tricks, that is always towards the top. Obviously risk. Obviously, risk is our business. Obviously, Jim is always there to make the tough decision and then keep making the tough decision. But seduction is always on the table for him. And we've seen him use this. I always think back, strangely enough, since we had some Shakespeare in both the title and in the episode, I think back to Conscience of the King. Really excellent episode. And that was the first time that I, as an audience member, realized what Jim was doing. I realized that whenever Lenore, I believe, was the woman that was playing, the daughter of, what's his name? That was very descriptive of me, wasn't it? The butcher, the daughter of the butcher. And, being able to deploy that seduction, he was able to get where he needed to go. And at no point did it even ring true. To us, when we were able to see him and see what he's really doing, it looks just like what it's supposed to. I'm just doing this to help out, to save my crew, to get what I need. And he was able to deploy it again in this one. And it worked out very well. But y'all know what I'm going to say. And of course, we had Spock, who was doing like the intellectual approach and the almost like, like the psychological, dripping of paranoia into Rojan, they seem to be getting along quite well. And, he's apologizing again, blah, blah, blah. What's that? You seem jealous, Well, I'm not jealous. And then everything was like, that's a very human response. Spock was able to really kind of logically take it to him, as far as just like busting balls and like really egging him on. But y'all know what I'm going to say. I'm so glad I'm wearing red today. My guy, Scotty, hands down, my favorite Scotty scene. Jimmy Doohan showing that Scotty was able to best a Kelvin, the biggest Kelvin, I should say, the biggest Kelvin, by drinking him under the table. I will never forget that. In my kind of like file of Scotty, of Montgomery Scott, it's at the very top of it is drank a mother effing Kelvin under the table. That's my guy. And Jimmy Doohan did an amazing job with that. The half-lidded look, really, the hair's up, really great stuff. And I was so hoping, I don't know why, but I was really hoping that he would at least make it out of the room. You know what I mean? And I know for Daniels, that would have required a completely different shot to be able to do this. So I understand why they did it. But just for me, for some like measure of accomplishment, I would have loved to have seen Scotty like make it out of the room, the door closes. And as we go back into the hallway, he just slides down the outside of the, just that was it. He made it that far. He did it, and I still think he did. But I was really hoping that he could just make it a couple extra steps just to like seal the deal that he did it and walked away as the Kelvins are completely passed out on the ground. I love it. And him holding the old whiskey. We did it. We did. That was the greatest. Oh, that was my favorite. My favorite Scotty scene. Really, really good episode. Definitely top half for me. I think that this one really had a great way of setting stakes and also, like I said, showing just the absolute just can-do nature of the Enterprise's like core officers. All the Enterprise's officers and crew are top-notch. We really got to see that on display here, and I love it. Some great shots of the Enterprise too. Some of those really they changed the entire look of space. Like it was very dark with kind of like like hazy nebula in there. Whenever we got the other side of the ring. The ring, it's not expanse. The other side of the barrier. Oh, really good stuff. But friends, there's so much to learn about this episode, and we have to go forth and we have to charge into the realm of the unknown. And the only person to lead us in this charge, and you know who I mean, the one that can tell us all of the things, the one that can show us how to mount an offensive and a counterattack, is none other than our good General Trelane, retired. General? Well, hello, my dear friends, and welcome to another edition of Q&A. 'Tis I, lover of women, leader of men, best friend to Jim Kirk, General Trelane, retired. Friends, this is where, having watched and reacted to an original series episode, I like to dig a little bit deeper and find out what went on behind the cameras, things that if I had looked up before watching and reacting would have definitely ruined it for me. But now, instead of wandering off into the weeds and speaking randomly about things for hours, I've given myself 5 different categories in which to explore. The first of which, writer and director. Who were they? The second, guest stars. Did we have any? The third, of the core cast or the Big 8, who was present? The fourth, and the spiciest of the categories, the production notes. What went on behind the cameras? And last but certainly not least, my friends, the 5th category, a memorable quote from this episode. Let's get started. All right, my dear friends, and for our first category, writer and director, who did we have? Well, our writer for this episode, we actually had 2. DC Fontana helped with the teleplay, but the story was also was assisted by Jerome Bixby, who wrote both the story and helped and assisted with the teleplay. Good job. Great job. Normally when we see multiple people involved, it seems to kind of dilute the product a bit, but I didn't think that by any other name suffered because of having multiple kind of inputs into the final script that came out. And of course, who was our director? None other than Mark Daniels. And friends, of course, we know that he should tie eventually Joseph Pevney at 14 episodes. And if we're counting the Menagerie as only 1 episode, we are on the 12th such episode that our good friend Mark Daniels has directed. Let's move on. And now, my friends, for our second category, guest stars, did we have any? Why, yes, we did. I'm so glad you asked. The first one was Warren Stevens as Rojan. We had Barbara Boucher, I believe, as Kalinda. We had Stuart Moss as Hanar, Carl Bird as Lieutenant Shea, and we had Julie Cobb as the Yeoman. I included the last 2 because I thought that they did a really good job with the very small roles that they were given kind of at the top of the episode, but it set the stakes. And of course, I think that the Yeoman, whenever she expressed, concern and, during that moment, you must be punished for all of this. And she said, Captain, and Kirk didn't have an answer for her. And that was the last thing she ever said. Really well done, both by direction and by performance. Great stuff, friends. Let's move on. And now, my friends, for our third category of the core cast, or the Big 8 who appeared. Well, let's go over the Big 8. We always have to. It is Kirk, Spock, McCoy. It is Scotty, Uhura, and Sulu. And for season 2, we added Chapel and Chekhov. Who appeared in this episode? Well, 7 of the Big 8, friends. We did not have a George in this episode. No George Takei. Let's move on. Okay, my friends, and now for the fourth category, we explore production notes, the special sauce that went on behind the cameras, which usually, and we've talked about this before, the story behind the cameras can sometimes be just as compelling, if not more so, than the episode that was created in front of the cameras. So let's get started. All right, friends, and our first production note it's a pretty good one. And normally, what we have in situations where we have multiple writers, a couple things happen. Gene Roddenberry is usually involved in one way or the other. Either he came up with the original story and then others developed it, or others developed it and Gene Roddenberry redid it before it came forward. So the one thing about this one is didn't have any type of we've had a couple of these in season 2, didn't have any type of crediting issue where the writer either didn't want their name on it or the writer was not included. So interestingly enough, this story originated with Gene Roddenberry in a story that he wrote called The Secret Weapon of either 117 or 117. And he wrote this way back in the 50s, and it featured a pair of aliens. And in the scene that was shot, one of the aliens was Ricardo Montalban. So we did have Khan appear a little bit earlier in Gene Roddenberry's universes. But it was interesting because they were sent to Earth to study humanity, but ultimately enjoyed it enough that they became human. Very, very similar to the story that we have by any other name. Let's move on. All right, friends, and for our second category, this one is really dark. In Bixby's original script, as was produced from the story that we just mentioned from Gene Roddenberry, it was incredibly dark. And let me give you an example. For instance, when the Kelvins first come up to the Enterprise, it's not so much freezing people and turning them into the dodecahedron type stuff. It is instead very Expanse-like. And for those of you that haven't seen The Expanse, it's a kind of a much grittier, more scientific, like based in pure science type of stuff, but it's very dark in places. And that is very reflective in this original script by Bixby, where 10 members of the Enterprise's crew are put through the airlock and jettisoned into space and killed. That's an interesting play for the Kelvins, and it was very, very dark. The additional thing, and this was ultimately all of these things were axed, obviously, but this second part was axed because of its similarity to the original pilot, The Cage. So here's what it was. They actually had Yeoman Thompson, who was killed on Planet, played by Julie Cobb. They were forcing her and Kirk to mate to create better humans. And I think that is very dark. And again, very similar to what we had in The Cage, whenever we had the Telosians kind of enforce a similar policy. But interesting. And I'm glad that they cut it down because I believe that might have been too dark. Let's move on. Now, this third one for our production note, friends, is a very interesting one. Normally, and by normally, I mean in every other episode of the original series that at least I have seen, Jerry Finnerman was the cinematographer for the episodes. But in this episode, and they're saying for the only time in the series, Keith Smith was the cinematographer for By Any Other Name. The interesting thing about Keith Smith is he was the cinematographer for Mission Impossible, which shot next door. So apparently, and no one really knows why, I looked through several different things, and it always says for some unknown reason, Finnerman couldn't be there. So I'm sure it was something benign because he came right back. But, for whatever reason, he wasn't there. And it must have been, short notice enough that they were able to run over to the studio next door and be like, Keith, can you help us out? And Keith was like, yeah, I just did a 12-hour day. Sure. Let's move on. All right, friends, and this one was very important and very interesting as our fourth production note that we have here. And these are things that while I noticed inside the reaction, I didn't comment on them because I wasn't sure, honestly, if I was right or not. Because I was pretty sure in reference to whenever Kirk said, when Rojan says, oh, well, we had to bust through a barrier that's at the edge of your galaxy. And Kirk says, yeah, we've been there. That's in my mind was a callback to Where No Man Has Gone Before, but I wasn't sure about that. So I didn't mention it just because I hate to be wrong and then inadvertently make somebody else wrong that might not, I lead people astray with my, ignorance on the subject. But that was indeed a referent to Where No Man Has Gone Before. And in addition to that, I didn't realize this. When Spock reads and scans the barrier, he says the identical line from Where No Man Has Gone Before. He says, density negative, radiation negative, energy negative. And that was apparently word for word from Where No Man Has Gone Before. And in addition to that, whenever they kind of talk about their imprisonment before and how Spock was able to use his powers to get out, that was from A Taste of Armageddon. So we inside the episodic, we have hints and touches of the serialized, which boy, oh boy, I wish we could have had more of that. But again, I understand why they did it. So you can just show up each week and you don't need to have 7 or 8 episodes prior understanding to enjoy that week's episode of Star Trek. Friends, let's move on. And for our 5th and final production note, my friends, this one involves Scotty's room. This is the first and only time we see Scotty's abode here on the NCC 1701. And I thought there were some pretty interesting, obviously we had the bagpipes, we had a lot of Scottish stuff that was in there. But the things that I thought were really, really interesting were one, the medieval armor that he had, that he hid his 200-year-old bottle of scotch inside. It was literally armored. That's how much he thought about it. But I thought it was really, really cool to see in this moment, what Scott's room looked like. And the one other piece that I thought was really cool, and I didn't notice this during the reaction, but they said in the back, there looks like a stylized drafting tool that in a weird way has a vague resemblance. They said, I again didn't notice it at all, to the 3D chessboard, but was in fact a instead of the 3-dimensional chess set, it was in fact the primary hull configuration of a Klingon battlecruiser. Awesome stuff, my friends. Let's move on. And my friends, for our final category, number 5, memorable quote from this episode. And I decided there's a great number of quotes, but for this one, and I've said it during the thing, this was my favorite Montgomery Scott episode. Incredible, incredible drinking moment there. And so I decided to use a kind of an amalgamation of the quotes, kind of bookending the final push of Scott. And here is this kind of amalgamated quote when he says, I have a bottle of some very, very old whiskey. And then at the end, when he finally drinks him under the table, he looks at the bottle and he says, we did it. You and me. Put him right under the table. And my friends, that was my favorite Montgomery Scott moment. Thus ends another installment of Q&A, my friends. Off to adventure with me. Until we meet again, behave yourselves.